I'm very seriously considering calling this film Testimony. I'm really happy I get to kind of start this off with something that even I look back after 10 minutes ago thinking, wow, that happened to me. That just happened to me. I just got a call from my friend Joseph. He says, Michael, I'm sitting in the car here with 3 other prayer warriors, and we were wondering if there's anything we could pray for you about. And I thought to myself immediately, like, well, yeah, absolutely. Man, I could really use some inspiration for the short film. And then we got to talking about miraculous testimony and some different things that they've experienced in their life. And it was amazing. Here I was praying, like, shortly before that I have some sort of inspiration for this little film, and very shortly after, I get 4 people and some amazing testimonies just right out of their lives. Hope you enjoy.
I was at the gym with my brother-in-law, and the Lord was telling me that there was something on his back, and I couldn't see it, but he was telling me that it was there. I just kind of was curious as to what that was, you know, because I couldn't see it, but I really felt like the Lord was telling me it was there, and he was telling me to go and pull it off. And it was weird because, you know, what do you pull off if you can't see anything? But I did it out of faith. I went up and I just reached as if there was something on his back and pulled it off. So I was basically grabbing air. But spiritually I wasn't, because as I did, I pulled it off. He stood up and just went, man, my back feels so much better. And he looked at me, he's like, whoa, what'd you do? And I was like, I just started laughing because I was like, wow, that's just testimony of how great the Lord is. So I know those are really weird testimonies, but those are testaments of God's power. And as we act in faith, that God moves. And that's what the Lord teaches me. And it's not an audible voice, but I really feel like an inclination that I know it's not my own thoughts. It's the Lord inside me telling me to do something. And I act out in faith, and when it turns out to be true, then that's building my own faith. So, yeah.
Hi, my name's Brooklyn, and I'm 19, and I have a story of being healed from depression. The thing about depression is that it puts you like into this deep darkness, and all you see is this dark all across, all around. Any light that you see or any light that you ever saw really feels fake. It doesn't feel like real life, and you feel like the depression you feel is very real life. It was during about the fall. I remember I was at just a little house church group, and I remember just my friend, she just started praying. She started praying and saying like what the Lord was telling her to say, and those things that she said is like, yeah, there's someone here that deals with depression, and yeah, right now, like, the Lord says that's not something you need to deal with anymore, and you're completely healed. And I was kind of just sitting there like, okay, like, not really thinking about it, but then I realized like, hey, why can that not be me? That is me. And this faith just rose up inside of me, like in my chest, and I was just like, yes, that's me, and I will not deal with depression from this day forward. I guess in that moment, I saw just this great light, but just in my mind, like, I understood like that was now the truth, and that darkness wasn't the truth. Actually, in the next couple of days, I actually dealt with some of the most intense feelings of depression that I've ever felt. But the crazy thing is that I felt those, but that no longer really mattered. There was this something, that faith, that continued to rise up, and it said, okay, I feel this way. I feel like I can't do this. I feel like I can't do anything, but I know the truth. And so I got up, I went to work, and I ended up having a great day. Beautiful things happened where I didn't live under that cloud of depression, because it no longer defined me, and that was no longer, and it is no longer a part of who I am at all. Yeah, so that's my story. It's a very real story about being healed. It might not look like a typical one, but I know it more than anything, because there's no reason that I should be the way I am now.
My name is Stephen Wise. I'm 20 years old. So I was driving home from work one night, and I saw this guy, like shuffling along with like a little, kind of an old person's stroller. And they just looked like they were in a lot of pain. And I just felt like God was like, go pray for that person. And I was like, no. But I was like, well, that'd be really awkward and weird, and it's like 10:30 at night. So I drove by 3 turnaround spots on the road before I finally was like, okay. I pulled over at the next stoplight, turned around. Well, I just asked him, like, how's your night going? He acted really kind of like cautious and reserved, like, who's this dude? And he was like, oh, I'm doing okay. And I was like, your leg looks like it's really hurting. Like, what happened with that? And he's like, oh, well, it's just a problem I've had for a couple years. And so I just said, well, like, do you just mind if I pray for you real quick? He's like, sure, do what you gotta do. I was like, okay, sweet. I put my hand on his shoulder, and it wasn't like a crazy healing prayer. I was just like, God, like, I know you love this person so much. Just please take this pain away, just right now, that the pain would start going away. And when I was about halfway back to my car, I started hearing like shouting, so I kind of turned around, and he's like waving his arms in the air, and I'm like, oh crap, he's probably super mad at me. I kind of start walking back towards him, and then he's like, it's a miracle, and I'm like, sort of like feeling in your gut like, oh crap, that worked. And he's like, you're not gonna believe me. And I'm like, oh, like, dude, I believe you. He was talking about how he felt like a fire, and as we continued to talk, he said that the flame moved from his foot up into his hip, into his back, and into his shoulder. And he told me his story about how he had been a paratrooper, like a special ops paratrooper, and that his helicopter had gone down about like 20 years ago. And ever since then, his back, hip, shoulder, both of his knees and both of his feet had been like in continuous pain. Like ever since then, he hadn't been able to walk properly or do anything for 20 years. All of that was just like gone within that, like 15-minute time period after I prayed for him. All of it just like went away.